Welcome to Soy and Bela's world, where real talk meets real laughs. It's raw, real, relevant. From trending topics to untold stories, we dive deep, go off script, and say what you're really thinking. Whether it's culture, chaos, or candid combos, we're here to keep it raw, real, and ridiculously fun. New episodes drop weekly. Catch every episode on YouTube. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe on YouTube.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Soya and Bela's World tonight. We have a very special guest tonight, and I'm going to go straight to the introduction. There's a lot going on, and we're going to get to the beef in a minute. But first, our guest tonight is the Honorable Assemblyman Lester Chang. Assemblyman Chang is literally a superstar. He has rocketed to superstardom in less than 2 terms in the Assembly already. He has represents certain areas which include Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, parts of Bensonhurst, Sunset Park, and of course Borough Park as well, which is a major part of the Orthodox Jewish community. Assemblyman Chang, prior to being elected to office, served the United States Navy, served as an officer in the United States Navy for nearly a quarter of a century, or about that time, if I got it right. And he has been serving our great country ever since as an elected member of the New York State Assembly. What we want to discuss is what's going on in the world. Anti-Semitism seems to be ubiquitous. We actually have here in New York a candidate by the name of Zohar Mamdani, who is running, and he has a history of virulent anti-Semitism by virtue of his words and deeds. And you begin to wonder, how can somebody like that possibly actually be running in New York City? And how can he have won the Democratic primary? So let's take up this now, Bela. Let's pass the baton to Lester. If you want to start, Bela, now, please.
Yeah, I would like to mention I'm a child of Holocaust survivors, and we are now living in times that are not much different than pre-war Hitler. The machine of extremism is being used on college campuses. 50% of college students in the United States have said that they have experienced some form of discrimination and anti-Semitism. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. What is going on in New York? It's not just in New York, but throughout the United States. People are scared to admit they're Jewish. Men
Bela,
are covering up the yarmulkes.
You said something. What is those that do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it, which leads me on to something extraordinary that the Honorable Assemblyman Chang has done. As a non-Jewish member of the Assembly, he was the first and only Assemblyman to introduce legislation which would commemorate and memorialize October 7th, the catastrophe that happened in Israel, as a way by memorializing something like this every year. It prevents it from happening again. You learn from history, and history can repeat itself, and it doesn't necessarily have to be right in Israel. It can happen anywhere in the world, and unfortunately, right even here at home. And it looks like something of that sort in that direction may be brewing even right here at home, considering that Mamdani won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, which is frighteningly scary. And the reason, by the way, that legislation did not pass is because of bipartisan bickering. It's incredible. This is a piece of legislation that is not partisan. This applies to everybody everywhere. There's nothing partisan about memorializing a catastrophe in order to remember it, to avoid any such catastrophe from happening again in the future. But the Democrats, which included, sickeningly so, some Jewish legislators as well, actually voted it down. And this is horrific to me. On that note, Assemblyman Chang, what's happening here in New York? Where are we going? What's going to be? How do you see things?
Boomy and Bill, that you very much invited me to your podcast itself. And Boomy, thank you for the introduction. It's been embarrassingly that you mentioned
Well
all the
earned,
other deeds.
Assemblyman. Well earned, Assemblyman.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Served you.
And
You have served our nation, and now you are serving our state and our nation at the same time.
I'd like to add is I did a 1 year tour in Afghanistan and
Oh.
served my country there as well.
Wow. Wow.
So a little bit more about my background is 101 years ago, my father came to this country 101 years ago. And
Wow.
I born in 61 in Chinatown at Eldridge Street. So that was Lower East Side Chinatown.
Yeah.
So,
Eldridge Street, the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
in that time, there was a large number of Orthodox Jewish people living in the Lower East Side at that time. And at the same time, unfortunately, one end of Canal Street, north side of Canal Street of Chinatown, is the Italian, and on the other side was where it was warehouse and factory, and a lot of Polish people were living. In Chinatown at that time, that era, in the early '60s, was a ghetto, literally a ghetto. So neighbors weren't so neighborly, but somehow over the time we thrive, and we emigrate to the outer boroughs as well as the Jewish neighbors. And we moved to Brooklyn, to Midwood. My family still owns a home for over 50 years at Avenue J and 29th Street. And next door neighbor had to be a Rabbi Rabinowitz, living there for several decades. So, and I attended several bar mitzvahs myself over the course of the years. So it's been neighborly. I graduated Midwood High School and Brooklyn College. So how much more Jewish community I live.
I understand, Assemblyman Chang, that even your chief of staff is an observant Jew. I don't want to mention her name or his name, but it happens to be an observant Jew as well.
That's correct. That's correct. So, and as you know, for our neighbors, that the Jewish and the Chinese community has always lived peacefully. You never hear Chinese kids harassing Jewish kids or Jewish kids harassing. You never hear it.
No.
Our core family value matches the same. We believe in education. We believe in good work, hard work,
family traditions.
Yes, family tradition, core family value. Yeah. Unlike Crown Heights, there's friction, and still there are frictions right now.
Okay. Thank God they've toned down quite a bit, but the friction still remains to some degree. Yes,
that's correct.
You know, I don't want to. I want to say something, but I don't know. I don't want to say it. I want to be clear about it. Most of the anti-Semitism and anti-Asianism and all the bigotry that we see around the country right now, and a lot of people are going to dispute it, is not coming from the right. It's generally coming from the left right now. And the left is made up of progressive liberals primarily. And unfortunately, the violent attacks and all that come from Muslims. And that's not to say that all Muslims are jihadis and violent, but all jihadis that are violent are in fact Muslims. And yes. I won't say any further than that. But Lester, Assemblyman Chang, where are we going? We've got this election. We've got a problem with the teachers union breaking off entirely, endorsing Mamdani, breaking off entirely from the ADL, which is the Anti-Defamation League, which was founded and has spent its years fighting anti-Semitism and other forms of racism, bigotry of other kinds. What's happening here? Is there a way out? And where's it going?
I suspect it was a long-term investment by these groups, these activists, jihadists, or anti-Semitic people for decades. So they sowed the seed and had long-term brainwashing, I guess, from liberal leftist educators, supposedly educators. And unfortunately, I think we also imported immigrants or visiting scholars that's spewing hate and anti-Semitism. And not too long ago, several decades, the Middle East countries, I don't want to name specifically, been supporting and contributing and donating money for Middle Eastern studies that perhaps sowing these hateful rhetorics that brainwashing these young naive kids right now, and that's what it is right now.
So this is part of a long-term plan by these groups, and it hasn't happened overnight. This is endemic, and it's been worked on.
Well, but it goes deeper than that. You know, I believe it's a mistake to make Mamdani's candidacy just a problem regarding anti-Semitism.
Of course, yes, certainly.
He's a socialist, which is a nice way of saying
a communist.
It's looking like he's going to destroy New York City. He's going to defund the police, have government-run stores, skyrocketing taxes, sanctuary cities, and continue to allow non-citizens to vote. And this is just to name a few. And let's not forget all those Jews that are now running to support Adams. I mean, let's be honest. Adams, let Jews basically be terrorized on New York City college campuses, as well as on the streets of New York City during his regime for the past 4 years. So,
well, I wouldn't go that far to that. He did jump in at a certain point. Maybe he didn't move fast enough, but I wouldn't attack him that much because
I'm not attacking him, but
he has been. Bela, he has been outspoken against and in favor of Israel, in support of Israel and its right to defend itself and do what it has to do against the terrorists. And he has, I think, to at least some reasonable degree, has tried his best to. But he hasn't always had the support. He's been fighting his own party because he's more centrist and he's more in the middle, and his party's leftist progressive, and I think he's been fighting with his own party from the inside. So
it boggles the mind. Why have Jews, and not just Jews, but again, this is not just about anti-Semitism. This is about socialism. This is about communism, which is a nice way of socialism is just a nice way of saying communism. So, but it boggles the mind. Why have people not jumped on the Sliwa bandwagon right after the primary? They're busy bickering about which progressive leftist Democrat they should support. It's insane.
Assemblyman Chang,
certainly.
You spent a year in Afghanistan fighting the communists and fighting the Islamo-fascists.
Well, communists at that time wasn't big, but definitely jihadists and extremists, yes. Now, Zindani, or Assemblyman Mandani, for almost 3 years. He's my colleague in the Assemblyman. All right, he represents Queens. He's my colleague. I meet with him.
Yeah.
Personally, very smooth, very nice talking gentleman. Doesn't raise too much of a hair and very reasonable when we talk as a politician, as a respectful colleague. No problem at all. And his debate is very, very respectful as well. Okay, very smooth talker, highly intelligent. But of course,
he's dynamic. He's dynamic. He's charismatic. Yeah. That's all very true about him.
Yes, it's very true. His marketing, his everything is like AOC picture, is pitch perfect itself, and he able to groom the followers for the young age. Okay, grown just like Trump groomed a phenomenon. He able to groom a phenomenon that embraces the support Palestinians and Hamas. Okay, he galvanized that, so he groomed that. That's a phenomenon I identified, and in many ways, how he won is very similar to how I won 3 years ago, because in a overwhelmingly Democratic territory in the district I have, represent almost 5-1, 5 Democrats to 1 Republican. And of course, I'm the first Chinese Republican elected the entire state, the first Chinese. So I was able to overcome the impossible odds. I able to beat a number 2 Democrat at that time. It's Peter
one
Boddy.
Of the most powerful Democrats in the legislature at that time.
Yes. So I had to plead guilty that I created the red wave in my Chinese community, legitimately a Republican wave at that time, and it still continues right now. Instead of I'm the only one, we have a second Chinese Republican. His name is Senator Steve Chang. So we have 2 now.
Your colleague, the other house.
And I caused the sensation, and right now we have many Republican Chinese candidates are running for office for the past 2 years. Not successfully, but at least I've seen the effort right now. Now, to combat Zindani, it's going to be very difficult because he has a smooth talker. But look at the numbers. Only 30% of the people came out to vote from November. Of only 30%. November, we had about almost 2.8 million people came out to vote. Took our primary, barely 1 million people came out to vote. Barely 1 million. So that's 30%. And many of them are first-time voters. And I have to give credit to Mandani, able to galvanize young generation, young people to come out and vote. I have to give him credit on that, what credit is due. And he's smart marketing and everything. He did not have major money to back him. He had small donation. Unlike Cuomo, he had PAC money, big donors, buying ads, negative ads, but it did not work. So you have to identify that this is a phenomenon. It's not big PAC money of overcoming the Cuomo or other people. So we have to gear on that. So I hope, and what we need in the Jewish community is to galvanize Orthodox women to come out, register to vote. I see that many of them are not registered. And I believe that's a cultural issue, that if we can able to have tens of thousands of Jewish women to register to vote and actually voted, I think we can sustain, I think we can win over Mandani.
Assemblyman Chang, my concern now is that the three other candidates against Mandani will divide up the vote between them, and then he will still have enough of his followers to get in.
I agree with you.
Because they will divvy up the vote between them.
Yeah.
What can be done about that? I had my own theories. What do you think?
Well, you have to look. He won about a little more than 450,000 people. That's almost half of the voting bloc of the Democrats that came out in June. And the total registered vote, again, let's look at a presidential election, 2.8 million. Okay, that's a very large number that came out. So how does it represent? Only less than half, much less, only 35, 40%. I suspect at the most he'll get out of from the general election, maybe 500,000, maybe less than 600,000.
But Assemblyman Chang, you're forgetting, what about all these polls that seem to put him in the lead by double digits at this particular point in time? The polls don't reflect what's really going on. I mean, in terms of the masses of voters, it only reflects what happened in the primary.
Well, currently polls doesn't look good, but I give it by time of Labor Day, another month and a half. I think those numbers may change because we don't know the background of Assemblyman Mandani. Anything dirt or negative may come out very soon.
Well, let's call it truth in his case. Truth.
That's correct.
His historical truth.
I mean, the Post mentioned and Times talk about his admission to Columbia University and how he able to get in, and his SAT score.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy is he came from a rich background. His father is a professor. His mother is a well-known Hollywood producer, a director. This guy was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's going out and saying, "I'm going to fix the world for all you people that are on the lower end of the spectrum."
And I believe that many of reliable Democrat voters did not went out to vote because the weather over 100, close to 100-degree temperature, and they assumed that Cuomo will win, and the polls looks like he may win, so they didn't come out to vote. So it's a shock factor.
So you're convinced that it's all going to change comes after Labor Day.
I hope so, and maybe more information may come out with the Assemblyman too. I think there'll be more interesting story. Now, interesting, why would a person just got married a couple months ago in Dubai? You know, when you're running a campaign, as he worked very hard to run a campaign, why would you get married in your peak of your life right before the election?
I didn't even know that.
One doesn't get married unless it's something or something.
I don't know. Maybe he was in love.
So everything is something suspicious. Everything that this man has done and is doing has some sort of a nefarious motive behind it. There is nothing straight, honest, and outwards and open and on the table about
you know,
it.
the problem is,
it sounds like you're telling us, Assemblyman, that if the voters, the mass of the voters do come out in November for the general election, Mamdani will not win, despite the polls right now.
That is correct, because he's fresh, he's brand new, he looks great. But you never know if there's any other hidden agendas that need to be dig out. So let's look at the polls again right after Labor Day. That'll be probably more accurate.
People are going to wake up.
They are waking up.
Well, I mean, how could they not? I mean, think about this. To not be willing to condemn the term globalize the intifada, it just demonstrates not just this disregard for anti-Semitism. Let's put that aside. That's the point I was trying to make before. It's not just disregarding anti-Semitism, but his disregard for terrorism.
Absolutely. That's anti-Americanism. And globalized intifada means let's go ahead and let's conquer the world. And let's have a global Islam taking over the world, a caliphate, and with them in control and ruling the entire world, including America, like they've done in England and so many other countries. So you believe, Assemblyman Chang, you're making me feel a little bit better and a little less.
I think you're making us all feel better.
And all we pray that you're right. No, Assemblyman Chang, what about what you mentioned to me earlier about this? What's going on with this teachers union? That they go ahead and they disconnect themselves from the ADL, and what is all this? I'm told now that there are so many teachers are actually Jewish. How can this be happening?
Well, those are rank and file may not agree with the leadership. The rank and file may not agree. And I think it's all about money too. They were hedging that if Mamdani went with the endorsement, who knows, he might get a biggest share of the pie. But at the same time, I think they're the most liberal socialist educator, dangerous brainwashing to our young kids. I'm afraid about that. They're against charter school. They're against religious school to be funded. So, and they never criticize how poor their scorecard of teaching our kids. I sit in the education committee. We spent nearly $30,000 per student in the public school. Nearly $30,000.
Wow.
And barely half of the 8th grade level are reading at level. What's happened? We spend the highest money, and our results is not great. So what happened to the standards?
I don't know. You're saying it's those on top that have done that for their own personal gain, if I'm understanding you right.
Well, I think they're educating in the wrong light. They're not going back to the basic ABCs that they should. I believe in civic histories, learning Americanism. They don't do anything like that. Yeah, they don't.
They're teaching them poison. That's what they're teaching.
It's interesting. It's interesting that the reading level is lower than it was. I'm just wondering if they're not testing children and they're not putting them in the right classrooms. I don't know what's going on, but
and they're planning to eliminate the Regent test another year or two. Eliminate that. Without the Regent test.
Well, there are states that don't have regions. Not every state.
I don't care, Baylor. That's not fair. I had to take all the regions. I had to pass algebra, geometry, trigonometry.
Listen, so did I.
Teeth, but I had to go through all that.
Because what Regent test does is give us what's the scorecard overall, because this is to prevent grade inflation. I mean, all principals like to have all their report cards in their school grade. So, also, it's a possible subject to grade inflation. So Regent really balances out, just like SAT score really balances out.
Yeah.
What's the standard?
Yeah. And there have to be standards. Assemblyman, putting aside the teachers, are you concerned that this anti-Semitism is going to continue to grow? Do you think it's going to peter itself out? It's just a passing time that we're going through right now, for whatever reason, based upon what happened in Israel. And will it eventually sort of peter out again? Or are we heading into 1935 Germany?
I hope not 1935 Germany. I don't see anti-Semitism will be simmering or lowered, because unfortunately, hate is a learned behavior. And it starts when you're young. All right. You just don't born
That's
hate.
right.
You have to learn hate.
Of course, no one is born hating anyone.
That's correct. So who teaches that? That's Facebook. That's social media. That's friends. That's parents. If they continue spewing the hate, then these are learned behavior.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, the root of that of hatred in anti-Semitism is not because the Jews are bad. It's what they're being taught. It depends on what they're being taught in the home. That's really where it begins.
And also from schools.
And the schools. But is there any way to stop it
Well,
on
the
social?
school, well, the kids are, whatever the kids are being taught at home, and they're learning in school too, and they're bringing what they're learning at home to school, so they learn from each other, and they're learning bad habits.
So now I'm getting scared again. This pattern, you see it continuing, Assemblyman. You don't see, there's no way to stop this. Can't we do something to cut off what's going on social media? Can't we deprogram? I mean, it's like, what's to be done? Is there nothing we can do?
I think what we have to thank is President Trump, all right, cutting off the education and the department and cutting off the funding for wokeness, all right? Hopefully we can trickle down to cut down the woke culture and teaching, which is counterintuitive. I think woke is a racist label because we have affirmative action for several decades, okay?
Sure.
And I believe I don't like to be identified who I am. I like to identify what I am already.
What I have accomplished. Some label. Yeah. DEI is not. It is not inclusivity. Is exclusivity is what DEI is. That's like you describe as woke.
That's correct. Right, you created a label. You created I believe a racial label.
That's right.
Or a classification of label, and I don't like it. We have affirmative action. What's wrong with it? It's been doing right. We still have gay people getting jobs even before DEI
before LGBTQ.
Yes.
They got jobs as human beings, not because they're classified as a certain racial or sexual label or something of that.
Yes.
I understand, Assemblyman. So you're saying what Trump is saying and what he is doing, the actions he's taking, are very positive, and hopefully you believe they may actually begin to stem the tide of anti-Semitism because he's doing the right things to fight it, to combat it.
And the second thing is New York is unfortunately very blue, very liberal blue. We need common sense leaders to be in office.
To bring awareness, to bring more awareness and education.
That's correct. So we have to invest and support candidates who support our common core value beliefs. And we need to register people who have not been registered to vote.
Yeah.
In particularly Jewish women, Orthodox Jewish women we need them now. I mean, there's no other way. We need the numbers.
Let's announce it to the Hasidic women out there. You've got to vote. You've got to get out there. You've got to register, and you've got to get out there.
We need the rabbis.
Yeah, the rabbis have to do that. That's
the rabbis
right.
announcing it in shul.
They
synagogues.
Control their, it's like we've got to tell the patriarchal society we need the matriarchs as well, because just as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were the patriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah and Rachel, all four of them were just as great as the patriarchs, and I believe that the Bible says that they were even greater in prophecy, in fact, than the patriarchs were.
Well, that's true.
All right, we're running out of time. We're going to get cut off. We're running out of time.
Okay. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that was Assemblyman, the Honorable Assemblyman Lester Chang. Assemblyman, we thank you for all that you do on behalf of all the communities that you represent. We bless you with Godspeed, that you continue to do great things and continue to rock it up there and see you and hear from you and, fixing what needs to be fixed. We love you and really depend on you a lot. And we wish you the best of luck in everything that you undertake, you and your wonderful team.
Assemblyman, it's been an honor and a pleasure. And I am in awe of the work you do.
Hopefully,
thank you for having me.
Much.
But let's have our listeners to really do the right thing, come out and vote in November.
Amen to that. You heard that from the Honorable Assemblyman Lester Chang. On that night, thank you again, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next time, and hopefully we'll see you again at some point, Assemblyman. Until then, stay cool and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.